What's up guys, it's me, Strawhead Nate, and I'm back this week with a new One Piece chapter video. This time we have chapter 1149 of One Piece, titled 1 Second. This chapter really ups the stakes here on Elbaf with one simple move, the arrival of IMU, the king or maybe queen of the entire world, and IMU arrives through the vessel of the God's Knight Gunko. And this one scene at the end of the chapter changes the entire trajectory of the arc, so it's super important to talk about first. Besides that arc-defining moment, this chapter is mostly about Skapar Gaban, the left-hand man of the former pirate king, Gol D. Roger. All by himself, Gaban manages to take on two different God's Knights within this one chapter, which is very fascinating, and both fights are very compelling in their own ways. But if you want to know what makes these battles so compelling, make sure to stay to the end of this video. Now, without further ado, let's get into the chapter after you like the video and subscribe to the channel. First and foremost, the cover of this chapter is a color spread, a fun little color spread of a maid cafe. The characters included are most of the Straw Hats, but also some honorary Straw Hat members who are traveling currently with the crew with Lilith and Bonnie. And as usual, Luffy is just stuffing his face full of food in this color spread. But now, as we jump into the actual chapter, just where we left off, Skapar Gaban is slicing up the hands of the God's Knight, Saint Summers, while Saint Summers screams in pain and agony. Gaban comes right back to attack, swinging around his axe, which is then blocked by a defensive barrier of thorns put up by Saint Summers. Summers is really mad, but he also seems to be really nervous at the fact that a man as powerful as Skapar Gaban is here on Elbaf, and he has to fight him. Meanwhile, the tied up Straw Hats on the sideline are watching this fight, amazed. And they talk about how Gaban is the left-hand man of the former pirate king. This is the first time that Nami figures out his identity, because remember back in the castle, he called himself Yasan, but she puts the pieces together here. Summers is still bombarding Gaban with thorns from every single angle, but Gaban remains calm and collected, cutting through all of the thorns attacking him, because he's known as the Mountain Eater because of his feats of cutting down forests anyway. Then, with a final attack from Gaban called Futenraku, he slices Summers completely in half, and Summers isn't regenerating for some unknown reason. Gaban immediately, after doing this, runs off in the direction of his son, because that's where his priorities lie, but Chopper yells at Gaban from the distance, asking the question, how did you cut an immortal being like a God's Knight? We don't get an answer just yet, but it can be assumed that this is some manipulation of Haki that is powerful enough to stop their regeneration, because we saw the axe had black lightning surrounding it when he cut Summers in half. Then, completely separated from all of this, we see Saint Killingham watching over Miss Anji as she burns down all of the libraries and the schools of Elbaf in an attempt at destroying all of Elbaf culture and history. He even gets involved, shooting a flame arrow at one of the buildings, so maybe Saint Killingham was excited to be part of the chaos. And then in the distance, Robin looks over, heartbroken at the books being burned and destroyed, since the libraries here on Elbaf don't hold just Elbaf history, but also history of Ohara and many other nations. And Ohara is her home that she has a strong connection to. But Jarul is also tearing up, even though he was the one who made this choice. But he probably doesn't regret his choice, because he chose to burn down all of the books of Elbaf to save the children. And speaking of this deal that was made, we see that the God's Knights at least have some morals, and dignity as they hold up their end of the deal, keeping the hostages safe. Gunko calls Rania, who was about to be sacrificed last chapter, back to safety with the group, and Rania cries for even being alive, which is such a twisted way of thinking, but she knows no better. The other hostages and the giant parents in the distance are all screaming to Rania that she shouldn't be sorry for being alive. They would much rather have her be alive than just some old books. Then Gunko glances over and sees Gaban rushing at her at full speed, ready to save his son and I guess the rest of the hostages as well. The kids all cheer for the arrival of Yasan, and Colin yells, "Yay, Dad is here." This turns out to be a fatal mistake because now Gunko knows that Colin is the son of Gaban and therefore the most important hostage. So she quickly swoops in on her arrow and snatches up Colin. Gaban thinks in his head that he only has to stop Gunko right here, and then the fires could be stopped and Elbaf could be saved, but he has to think fast. And Colin screams for his father to help, and meanwhile Gaban in his head is thinking about his son Colin's birth, and we see a short little flashback of Ripley and a younger version of Gaban with their son. Then, as he prepares to attack to save his son, Gaban uses Future Sight, making him one of the only Future Sight users that is confirmed, the others being Katakuri, Luffy, Shanks, and Kaido. But in his Future Sight vision, he sees that his son Colin gets murdered by Gunko without him being able to do anything about it, so he knows that there's no chance of victory here. In response to this, Gaban throws down his axes, giving up the battle, which is followed by Gunko mercilessly stabbing him with arrows, pushing him off the branch into the void below. And this would mean death typically in normal circumstances, but remember that Luffy and the others are down there, so I'm sure that Gaban will be safe and not dead just yet. Now all the kids cry for Yasan because they assume that he's dead, and Colin specifically cries for his own father, which causes something odd in Gunko specifically. Gunko randomly gets an influx of memories, and she flashes back to these memories where she happened to be crying for her own father. And this is also followed by a scene of her standing with Brook, fantasizing about being a pirate. And it's not confirmed to be Brook, but it looks exactly like Brook did when he was alive. She might have had all these memories dormant within her this whole time, but now they're pushed out by all the kids' emotions. And if I'm putting it together correctly, this scene is probably implying that Gunko is the daughter of Brook, which is an insane turn of events for her character. And with all these memories coming to Gunko, she then looks at the Straw Hats, which of course includes Brook, and she starts running at him, hoping to talk to her old friend, most likely her father. And then Gunko for an instant seems to switch sides to the good side. But then this is unfortunately interrupted by the arrival of IMU-sama, taking over Gunko's body, something that I never expected here on Elbaf. Imu is angry at the Gods Knights for taking so long with their job on Elbaf, and Imu is also angry at the fact that Marijois is currently burning down, another really unexpected circumstance. This is most likely the work of the Revolutionary Army, because I don't see anyone else it could be. And remember that the Revolutionary Army has a commander that's the user of the flame fruit in Sabo, so this all makes sense. We'll probably check in on that very, very soon, but now what's more important is that Imu is pissed off and here to wreak havoc on Elbaf. That's where this chapter concludes. This has definitely been the most hyped chapter in a while because it has similar vibes to when the Gorosei arrived on Egghead last arc, which was basically a moment of divine intervention from the world government. Now, IMU is here through the vessel of Gunko, face to face with the majority of the Straw Hats, besides the really important Straw Hats like the Monster Trio, of course, who are still lounging around down in the underworld with Loki. Through a shocking turn of events at the end of this chapter, the stakes of Elbaf have dramatically increased, in my opinion. Whatever happens next, either following up with IMU here on Elbaf, getting a in-depth Gunko backstory, or switching over to the Holy Land of Marijua, I'm excited for it. And luckily we don't have to wait too long because there's no break next week. So, if you made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to show your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.